أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Verse number 182 of Surah Al Imran. ذلك بما قدمت أيديكم وأن الله ليس بظلام للعبيد. That is because of what your hands have sent ahead, and because Allah is not tyrannical to the servants. Now, this verse, of course, as you notice, is connected to the previous verse. That is because of what your hands have sent ahead. It was, as mentioned in the previous verse, it was ذُوقُوا عَذَابَ الْحَرِيقِ, taste the punishment of the fire. And that was, of course, the punishment for those who said that Allah is in need and we are wealthy, and also those who had killed the prophets. And for that, Allah says that we will write that, whatever they have done and whatever they have said, and will tell them one day that now you can taste the punishment of fire. And then it says ذَلِكَ. So ذَلِكَ, that refers to that punishment, عَذَابُ الْحَرِيقِ. Now, the point here is that it is not something that we conventionally establish that because of what you have said, you will have this and that sort of punishment. No, the punishment is the action itself, or the punishment is produced by the action itself. So it's not that we are conventionally doing it. It is something which what you have sent forth, ذَلِكَ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ, what your hands have sent forth. Of course, what your hands have sent forth means that what you have done. This is an expression which is used in Arabic language. So this is what you have done, or because of what you have done, is produced by what you have done. And this actually is is a sort of procedure which is similar in this world, in Barzakh, and in the hereafter. ما أصاب من مصيبة فبما كسبت ما أصابكم من مصيبة فبما كسبت أيديكم. Whatever infliction, whatever calamity inflicts you, is because of what you have done in this world, and also, of course, in Barzakh, and also in the next world. There is this verse of the Quran, of course, very clear, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. When Allah gives something, this is very important. When Allah gives something, it's of course, it's all as gift because we do not deserve anything, then He never takes it back. He never changes it until and unless we change something inside, and then that ni'mah is withdrawn or vanishes. Otherwise, when Allah gives something, He never takes it back. Here, there is one very beautiful hadith in Nahj al-Balagha. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, وَيْمُ اللَّهِ مَا كَانَ قَوْمٌ قَطْ فِي غَضِّ نِعْمَةٍ مِنْ عِيشٍ فَزَالَ عَنْهُمْ إِلَّا بِذُنُوبٍ اجْتَرَحُوهَا. I swear by God, never it has happened that the people were blessed by some bounties, and that those were removed from them, were withdrawn from them, except because of some sins that they have done. And then He actually justifies that by what is mentioned at the end of this verse. And لَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Allah does not wrong people. Allah is not tyrannical to the servants. It means that when Allah gives something, if He takes it back, it's tyranny. That is very interesting. It belongs to Him. He is the sovereign. He has the power and will. However, He says that if Allah takes something back, then of course that is tyrannical. And Allah لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Now, about this statement, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Of course, if we read it as ذَلَكَ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ, it gives us one meaning. But if we read it ذَلِكَ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ, it gives us another meaning. Because when we say inna, it means that we are initiating, beginning a new sentence. But we say anna, it means it's connected to the previous statement. Though, what will you see, what will you taste from punishment is because of what you have sent, and because وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Now, about this, what is the relationship between these two? Why, if Allah does not punish in the way it's mentioned in the previous verse, He is Dhallam. Dhallam is the hyperbole of Zalim, means very Zalim, very tyrannical. What is the relationship? There's a couple of views put forward. One view is that if Allah does not punish the criminals and then let them to live with those who have done good, this is an enormous dhulm and wrong, which He has done, and he doesn't do that. Well, this is something which we can think about, but not necessarily. If Allah doesn't punish the wrongdoers, He is Dhallam, and if He forgives, certainly He is not Dhallam. The other explanation, which is mentioned in Majma' al-Bayan by Allama Tabrasi, he says that this is actually an address, so to speak. Of course, God was not addressing the mujbira, those who believed in jabr and compulsion, but is as if this is addressing that if, because for mujbira, they say God can create kufr and iman. In fact, kufr and iman are created by God in a person, and then God punishes or rewards based on that. He says that if that is the case, then Allah is Dhallam. Not Dhalim, is Dhallam. Dhallam means extremely tyrannical. If that happens, without any, God creates me, and without me having any choice in that, and then He creates kufr in me, so to speak, or iman in me, and then He punishes and rewards. That is, Allah here says that if this was not for what your hands have sent forth, then Allah would have been Dhallam. So you would not receive anything but what you have sent forward for yourself. So if Allah does that, it's not acceptable by any standard of justice. The third meaning, which some have put forward, is that this punishment which is mentioned about what people see in the hereafter in hell is so grave, so enormous, so severe, that if it was a conventional punishment, anyone is out of proportion. Anyone meeting out that punishment would be Dhalim or Dhallam. But because this is something which you have yourself have produced, then of course Allah, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. And of course, one other meaning which comes to mind is that if Allah does not separate between evil and good, then that is great zulm. And Allah is not like that. Now, verse 183 is a continuation or a description of those who said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ فَقِيرٌ وَنَحْنُ أَغْنِيَاءٌ. Allah is poor and we are rich. Who are they? Which people have said this? Well, previously we said these were the Jews who said that, or some of the munafiqun, but here it is addressing specifically the Jews who said certain things to the Prophet. الَّذِينَ, verse 183, الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ أَهِدَ إِلَيْنَا أَلَّا نُؤْمِنَ لِرَسُولٍ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَنَا بِقُرْبَانٍ تأكله النار قل قد جاءكم رسل من قبلي بالبينات وبالذي قلتم فلما قتلتموهم إن كنتم صادقين. Those who say Allah has pledged us not to believe in any messenger unless he brings us an offering consumed by fire. Say, messengers before me certainly brought you manifest signs and brought you what you speak of. Then why did you kill them? Should you be truthful? Now, the commentators have actually mentioned a few names. Who were these people who said this? That Allah has actually taken a pledge from us that we should not believe anyone claiming prophethood. This is actually what they say. Anyone coming and claiming to be a prophet, then we should not believe in him unless he offers an offering for God, and then a fire comes from the sky and burns it. And that is the sign of the acceptance of that offering. And actually many prophets from Banu Israel did bring such a thing for Banu Israel. It was a sign for them. Now here, they say that الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ أَهِدَ إِلَيْنَا, Allah has actually taken a pledge from us that we should not believe in any messenger unless he brings that. Now, some commentators have said that there were two exceptions to this pledge, or two exceptions to these prophets who should have brought this. One was Jesus and other Muhammad, peace be upon him. They were concealing this. They were saying that generally Allah has taken a pledge from us that we should not believe in any messenger unless he does that. إِنَّ اللَّهَ أَهِدَ إِلَيْنَا. أَهِدَ إِلَيْنَا means he has instructed us. He has commanded us that we should not believe in any prophet. Now, whether this was true or not, that they should not believe, they had the signs of the messenger of God. He was described and identified for them in the Torah. And there was no such a thing that this messenger should bring such a miracle, that an offering which, because this is not something which we have in Islam. And this prophet did put an end to that. And even Jesus did put an end to that. Now, the answer is, okay, you say that you have given a pledge or you have given a promise. There's a pledge which you should not believe in any messenger. But before me, how many messengers and prophets came with the same miracle that you asked for? Why did you kill them? Like Yahya alayhi salam, like Zakaria alayhi salam, and many other messengers of Banu Israel. They did bring the same miracle. قُلْ قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رُسُلٌ مِّن قَبْلِي. Messengers before me came. بالبينات. بالبينات means miracles. Not only this, but other miracles and the miracle that you are asking me to bring. وَبِالَّذِي قُلْتُمْ. But why did you kill them? And if that was the case, and you did kill the prophets who brought the what Allah had pledged with you, then what is the guarantee that if I do that, you believe in me? Now, some commentators have actually said that why the Prophet did not bring this miracle for them. And the answer is that it would have increased their sin, it would have increased their obstinacy, and they would have rejected, and that was even worse. So he says that even if the Prophet had brought such a miracle, showed such an offering taken by fire, they wouldn't have not believed. In Majmu' al-Bayan also he says that Allah did not actually end their excuse by giving the Prophet such a thing, because he knew that by giving the Prophet such a miracle, it would be a mafsada for them. As I mentioned, it would corrupt them. And also, al-mu'jizat tabi'atun lil-masalih. Miracles are actually guided by what is beneficial. And it was not beneficial. Allah knew that it was not beneficial. It was mentioned in their books that this Prophet will not bring such a miracle, but he has other miracles. And also, why have you come to this area waiting for the last messenger? It was all excuses that the Jews mentioned later. I mean, they could have asked this from the Prophet on his arrival to Medina, saying that, Ya Rasulullah, this is something that's mentioned in our books, so can you please bring us such a miracle so that we act according to the pledge that Allah has taken from us? But they didn't do. They were actually after all the defiances, denials, and working against the Prophet, now just to somehow prove their point or prove the Prophet wrong. They say, well, unfortunately, sorry, you don't have such a miracle, we cannot believe in you. قُلْ قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رُسُلٌ مِّنْ قَبْلِي بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَبِالَّذِي قُلْتُمْ فَلِمَ قَتَلْتُمْ. Why did you kill those? إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. If you are truthful. If you are truthful that you are waiting for such a miracle only, and if you are truthful that Allah has taken a pledge from you as that, then why did you kill those prophets? And verse 184 gives a consolation to the Prophet, peace be upon him. فَإِن كَذَّبُوكَ فَقَدْ كُذِّبَ رُسُلٌ مِّن قَبْلِكَ جَاءُوا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَبِالزُّبُرِ وَالْكِتَابِ الْمُنِيرِ. And if they deny you, if they belie you, then before you other messengers have been denied, who came with manifest signs, جَاءُوا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالزُّبُرِ, holy writs, وَالْكِتَابِ الْمُنِيرِ, and illuminating scripture. Now, who are these people who are being referred to here in Kadhabuka? Well, of course, in this surah is revealed in Medina. In Makki surahs as well, we have this فَإِن يُكَذِّبُوكَ فَقَدْ كُذَّبَتْ رُسُلٌ مِّن قَبْلِكَ. If they deny you, then messengers before you were denied. The verses revealed in Makkah, of course, is referring to the mushrikun, the polytheists. But here, certainly, in the context, this is referring to the Jews who were denying him and saying that he was a liar, that he wasn't a messenger. فَإِنْ كَذَّبُوكَ فَقَدْ كُذِّبَ رُسُلٌ مِّن قَبْلِكَ means by Banu Israel. Most probably, of course, because messengers before you came to Banu Israel and they rejected them. Of course, we can take it as a general statement that many messengers before you were rejected and denied, and belied, like Nuh alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, and others, Hud and Saleh. But here the context tells us this is about Banu Israel. Now, Ja'u bil bayinat. They bring bayinat. Bayinat, of course, are clear signs, arguments, demonstration. These are bayinat. Of course, usually bayinat used in the Quran means miracles. When they asked miracle from the messenger, they performed it. But even more forceful than miracle are the arguments, rational arguments, which are also bayinat as well. وَالزُّبُرُ وَالْكِتَابِ الْمُنِيرِ. No, Zubur means books, of course, holy books. And Kitab means holy book as well. I think we have mentioned this before and have explained it enough, that the difference between Zabur and Kitab is that Zabur only contains maw'idha, admonitions, and things related to theology, knowing God, worshipping Him, whispering with Him. But Kitab contains law and Sharia. And Munir means something which sheds light, illuminating the scripture. So many messengers were sent, and they were actually the messengers which came with bayinat, also came with Kitabun Munir, also came with Zabur. One of these Zabur mentioned in the Quran is Zabur Dawood, وَآتَيْنَا دَاوُودَ Zabura. But this was not, of course, the only Zabur given to prophets. Usually, messengers were given Zabur, and 5 messengers who were Ulul Azm were given Al-Kitabul Munir. And Kitabul Munir, if this is addressing the Jews, Kitabul Munir means Kitabu Musa and Kitabu Isa, alayhim as-salam. Both of them were somehow denied and rejected by groups of Banu Israel. Then in verse 185, some admonishment is mentioned, in a way preaching the Jews, Muslims, others, that be careful. Death is very close, and it's not something that you can escape from. And every soul will taste death. And then comes a day when you will receive what your hands have sent for. Verse 185. كل نفس ذائقة الموت وإنما توفون أجوركم يوم القيامة. Every soul shall taste death, and you will indeed be paid your full reward, your full requital on the day of resurrection, يوم القيامة. فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز. And whoever is delivered from the fire and admitted to paradise has certainly succeeded. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. The life of this world is nothing but the wares of delusion. كل نفس ذائقة الموت. ذائقة الموت means death would fall upon them. Or because death is not something that we can taste unless if we take it figuratively. And some people have said that it means that the preludes, things which happen just before death, the illness of death and stoppers of death and things like that, that people really taste by their flesh and blood. So it means that they were every soul will taste these things which come before death. And this is the meaning of tasting death. Otherwise, death is not something that people can taste. Although, as I said, metaphorically, this is quite possible. Now, in Majmu' al-Bayan, he says that the term mayyit could be actually a reference to a person on the verge of death, which is just going to die. Not mayyit yet, but just going to die. We call him mayyit as well. And that's why they said things which come before death will be tasted. And he says that, for example, we have in hadith, لَقِّنُوا أَمْوَاتَكُمْ شَهَادَةَ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Give talqeen to your amwat. This is different from talqeen that we give in the grave. So, induce your mawta with shahadat la ilaha illallah. Those who are on the deathbed, just tell them to say la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. And he says that although they are not yet dead, but they are referred as amwat. Now, innama tuwaffawna, after you taste death, kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. After tasting death, what happens? Innama tuwaffawna ujurakum yawm al-qiyamah. You will be fully paid your reward or punishment on the day of resurrection. What that means is that you cannot receive your full, what you fully deserve, neither in this world nor in barzakh. What you deserve will be paid to you fully on the day of judgment. This innama is for hasr, means it is only the case. It is not possible to be given full remuneration, full requital to anyone in this world, nor in barzakh, but on the day of judgment. So the tawfiyatul ujur, that means full remuneration, full requital, is only on the day of judgment. And that means, yes, some of the ajr, some of the reward or punishment could be given in this world, some in barzakh, but the full will come on the day of judgment. And we know by experience, it's really not possible in this world to give the full, what people fully deserve, whether for the evil or for the good. And this only happens on the day of judgment. يَوْمَ قِيَامَكُمْ, as Bayzawi says, يَوْمَ قِيَامَكُمْ مِنَ الْقُبُورِ. The day you rise. يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ is that, isn't it? You rise from the graves. You enter in a realm in which it is possible to receive the full requital for what you have done. Now, Bayzawi says something interesting. He says that this term tawfiya, tuwaffawna ujurakum, actually implies that there is some ajr or punishment before the day of judgment. Because he says that you only receive your full deserve, what you deserve on the day of judgment. But partially, yes, you can receive it. And then he says, he brings a good evidence here. He says that we have in hadith that al-qabru rawzatun min riyad al-jannah aw hufratun min hufar al-nar. The grave either is a garden of the gardens of paradise or a pit of the pits of the hell. So we are being given what we deserve in barzakh. So if that is the case, then what's the meaning of tuwaffawna ujurakum yawm al-qiyamah? It means what is given in barzakh is just partial. Just like in this world. What we receive in this world is very partial. But in barzakh, it will be, of course, more manifest. And the tawfiyah, the full reward, the full reward of punishment is only possible on the day when people rise from their graves. That means when we go to a higher stage of life, and that is the only possibility. فكل نفس ذائقة الموت وإنما توفون أجوركم يوم القيامة. Then it says فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز. Whoever is delivered from the fire and admitted to paradise has certainly succeeded. And this means no matter which rank of paradise you go, no matter what will be your level in paradise, just entering paradise, just being delivered from fire, it is a great success. It is felicity and bliss. Now, of course, this second part of the verse needs some more explanation. That we will leave it for our next session, inshallah. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Thank you very much, Sheikh, for the excellent session. We have some time for question and answers. Do we have any questions? Yeah, if we start with yourself, Mursanko. You'll need to unmute yourself, Mursanko.
السلام عليكم شيخنا.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
كل نفس ذائقة الموت. Is it true that the taste of death is different as far as the muttaqeen is concerned and the mujrimeen?
Very good, Ahsan. Actually, I forgot to say this. When the verses كل نفس ذائقة الموت, it may imply that the experience of death for every individual is different. You know, certainly, of course, for muttaqeen and for mujrimeen, it's very different, very much different. But also because for muttaqeen, it says الذين تتوفاهم الملائكة الطيبين يقولون سلام عليكم. As soon as they are received by the angels greet them with salam. And for mujrimun, of course, الذين تتوفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم يضربون وجوههم وأدبارهم. They are hit on their backs and faces. So very different. And also different grades of taqwa, different grades of jurm would certainly influence the type of death that people will experience.
Awesome. And also there is, as you said, there is a mention in the Holy Quran that the Jews killed many prophets who were killed by the Jews. Is there any indication who these prophets are who have been killed? Anyway, yeah. I've not come across any names of these prophets.
Yeah, certainly we know Prophet Yahya they killed. I mean, the chief of the Jews.
Yes,
killed Nabi Yahya, and then they killed Nabi Zakaria as well. And then they killed Jesus, isn't it?
Yes,
so
yes.
These are the most important. And there were others whose names we do not know.
That's it, yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions? Then one's just come in the chat. Sheikh, you mentioned that Allah takes his bounties because of sins. How can we tell that this is a punishment or a test?
Well, the most important bounty of Allah is Iman. Okay? And if his Iman is withdrawn from someone, that means certainly it's not a test, it's a punishment. If Iman is taken. And of course, there are tests for everyone. However, Allah would not change the overall situation of a people or of a person if they do not do anything which they themselves change the situation. In Dua Kumail, we have that forgive me the sins that stops the rain of the heaven, forgive me the sins that does that. It means that every sin has an effect. Now, sometimes it may not be because of that, it may be because of tests, like Nabi Ayub, alayhi salam. Of course, taking his blessings was a test, but it was in itself a blessing, isn't it? That test was itself a blessing, and Allah gave him back everything. So it may come as a test sometimes, but Allah will not leave the person without the bounties forever.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions? Sheikh, if I may ask a question, you said one of the interpretations of verse 182 was that it would be tyrannical of Allah to give this punishment if it was not something that we had produced ourselves. But how do we come to the conclusion that we have produced this outcome ourselves if Allah provides us with our soul, Allah provides us with our freedom? So Allah has given us all of these materials that we then utilize.
Well, it is our actions returned to us, and this is the most just judgment that could be done. You know, if Allah just wanted to conventionally decide that the punishment for this sin is so many years, for example, in hell, that was one may have to question whether it is just or unjust. But when your actions are given back to you, then you cannot complain to Allah that, well, it is unjust. Allah says, I haven't done anything unjust. I haven't added to your to the outcome or consequences of your actions. It's just the same as you have done it. Yes, of course, for good doers, he makes it 10 times. But for criminals, it's just that action. And of course, add to that, he forgives so many sins, except that there are some sins which are attached to our soul and heart that cannot be separated. And then that will be separated in the hell. So if Allah wanted to punish us by a conventional sort of judgment, we may have said that this is dhulm. But if he says, okay, this is what you have done, take it, it's not dhulm. Now you may say that because he has created us, this is what you want to say, isn't it? Because he has created us, why did he put such consequences there? Well, that is something that we do not know. This is the higher wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how these things work. But we know that, for example, we wrong someone, certainly something should come back at us. I mean, if you wrong an orphan, something should come back at you. Now, that something is decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What consequences they are, that would be better for the orphan and for us as well. That may somehow heal us, retrieve us from our sin.
Do we have any final questions? Sheikh, I think we have covered all of the questions. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you so much. And inshallah, see you next week.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Alaykum salam.